Good evening, all attendees. Welcome you all to one more Innovation Garage workshop. We are conducting these workshops by the guidance given by All India Center for Council for Technical Education and Institutions Innovation Council. So, Innovation Garage is conducting these workshops to empower all the founders and entrepreneurs available in the college to let them know how actually concepts of entrepreneurship will help them in the building their process. Even without the process you can build, but we what our aim is to push you towards building a startup in a sustainable way, and hopefully will help you in whatever process that you need in your process. So in this series of workshops, the today's topic is lean startups and MVP bootcamp. We know startups and MVP, like we have been listening about these in the previous workshops, and we have got like nice quite a lot of knowledge in these workshops. But what exactly is lean startups, and what is, and we have talked a lot about MVP. Even the last session was about prototype development. We'll even talk about how the MVP can be built by using lean startup models. Lean startup model is a different kind of approach to build startups, because to build a company or to build even a product, like there are many approaches, and lean startup has been the 21st century's most favorite approach to build any startup. And yep, the only mantra of the lean startup is the caption that we have written below, and I'll just read it aloud for you. The only way to win faster is to learn faster, and the only way to learn faster is to fail even faster. So, in this startup journey, one thing you should always keep in mind is to not be afraid of failing, right? Because even though we have like many ideas in mind and the many visions and missions for our product, they might not be exactly translated in the same way that we thought of. So we might fail in the process. So we should be ready to fail and learn and move on. And again, I'll just repeat the mantra once again. I'll move on to talk about what exactly lean startups is and further. Again, the only way to win faster is to learn faster. And the only way to learn faster is to even fail faster. But that doesn't mean we have to fail. By saying fail faster, we only mean that you should not be afraid of failing. We just hope everyone succeeds in this journey. So, moving forward, why lean startup? Right. So, I mean, the entrepreneurship has been evolving since industrial evolution and even before through the human evolution. The transactions and barter system and everything is a little bit of entrepreneurial journey. So even, I mean, this big evolution, and why are we actually stressing on lean startup right now? Because in the 21st century, our companies, they are rapidly growing, and the startup revolution has got no boundaries now. It has gotten all over the world. So there is a person called Eric. He has written a book called Lean Startup Method. Even though the book is written in like 2010 or something, but this lean startup, this method and this philosophy and this formula has been there since 1990s. So what exactly lean startup is, and why are we using it right now? We'll talk about it. Because in the traditional way, the companies were always built in a specific way. The company always needed a specific approach, a specific paperwork. Even though we need all this paperwork and this approach right now, but we are trying to make it more efficient and make it more easier and make it more fail proof for the current generation. So let's talk about what exactly lean startup is and how to actually achieve it. So as I told before, lean startup and lean building is more of an approach and a mindset rather than a formula. Right. This is not a mathematical or whatever formula that we can apply and we get the success. No, this is a mindset that we have to, use it in every single day in our startup building and even in our life, so that we might not fail and hopefully we will succeed. So now we'll talk about what were the traditional processes and what is the lean process that we are trying to, imbibe right now. So in the previous days and even today, like most of the most of the startups which are not following this lean startup method follow this way: build a product and then wait for customers. Build a product and then wait for customers. It was always the product which came first, and then the product was taken into the market, and then the customer has always come into the picture. But according to the lean startup method, it's a there is a completely different way to approach this particular thing. Lean startup method says there is no need for you to just build the product when you have the idea. You can start getting the customers from the day one, and in fact the day zero, right? Start serving the users with whatever you build, with whatever little product you have, with whatever little trailer or whatever little teaser or whatever little announcement that you have. Try to generate revenue. Again, by saying try to generate revenue, I don't mean by going fraud ways and serving customers in an unfulfilled way. Serve customers in the most easiest way and the least product that you have, and start serving from the day one. What is the use of it? You can ask me. Okay, it's always better to go with the full-fledged product, right? But I'll tell you why exactly this lean startup method is useful. Because these days we know, I mean, we always tell customer is king, customer is queen, customer is everything. But when you spend so much time, when you put so much effort, when you put so much money, when you put so much capital, when you put so much manpower into some product, and if it fail, that means that the whole pressure is on us. So to not let this happen, if we take the customers feedback or customers whatever decision from the day one, then we'll understand if the process or the if the idea or the validation is going in the right direction, or if you have to change, or if you have to pivot or something. So that's why the first ever principle of lean startup building is to put customer first and then product next, right? The second is, in the traditional way, we take months and years to deploy the product. We take months and years just to try to put the whole effort into just building the product by the idea that we have in our mind. But lean startup building principle says it's okay even if you don't have a full-fledged product. Even if you have a single feature that a customer might like, just ship it and just earn some money. And why I'm stressing a lot on earn some money? Because when a customer is paying for a product, or when a customer is paying for a feature, or when a customer is paying for a service, that means the customer is validating that particular service, and then you can definitely go ahead in that direction. When the customer is not exactly paying for it, you need to think twice on why exactly it's not working. So lean startup method says deploy as soon as possible with whatever thing you have, right? In fact, even if you don't have a product, deploy a poster, or just announcing that you are doing this, and see what customer actually reacts to that. See how customers get to you and ask about when is it releasing, and see the FOMO that goes on when you announce that particular project or when you announce that particular product. There is a validation. We take from data and learn from data and build through that. And lean startup method says that deploy as soon as possible and learn from customers' feedback instead of building and taking months and taking years, and without taking any customers' feedback, and just building and just building and just building. And when you put it in the market, it might succeed, but the chances of failing are even higher. So it's always better to take customers' opinion from the day one, right? And third, and the most important principle of this lean startup building is build, measure, learn, sell, repeat. The traditional method has always been build and sell. There was never learn, you know, there was never measure or nothing. This lean startup method says you first build something, then measure. Measure in the sense deploy it as soon as possible, right? And see the whatever statistics or metrics or that are coming from the customers. Measure in the sense measure the idea that the product is in your mind and with what the customer is taking it as. Measure if the product and the whole project is everything synchronizing accordingly or not. Learn. After measuring, learn from whatever the feedback or whatever the decision or whatever the data that you get from the customers. Then sell. Now comes the selling part. When you have some data that this actually works, or oh my god, this doesn't work, then make some changes and sell it, and then repeat. If you ask me, are anyone following this particular method, then I will tell you a simple example. Every mobile application that we use, they come with updates every single month. If the mobile application is not updating too often, that means their founders are not really, into taking customers' feedback. New startups regularly update their application in like weeks and even in days. Why do they do it? Only because they take customers' feedback and they immediately fix those bugs, or immediately fix that particular feature, or immediately add that new feature, or immediately remove that feature that the customer doesn't want. So that's how build, measure, learn, sell, and repeat. So these are three most important principles of lean startup building. So now going ahead, I'll just put it in the one single picture and explain it to you on how everything works. Because this particular lean startup building method has like a very big theory on what to do and when to do, blah blah blah. But what we need right now is to know about the important topics which we want right now when we are actually building our startup. So this particular picture, if you see it right now, right, you can read everything, learn ideas, build, code, measure data. But if you see clearly in the left and right and the bottommost corner, one thing you'll see is faster, faster, and faster. Right? This lean startup method actually runs on the foundation of fastness because uh, it's only when the startup is lean you can be fast. It's only when your company is small, you can do wonders. Once the company or once the startup actually becomes a large corporation, then even a little change has to be done. Then it might take weeks. A lot of bureaucracy comes in. A lot of corporation pullbacks come in, right? That's why it's only when your startup is very lean, even in terms of manpower and even in terms of the particular size of the product and particular size of the customers, then only you can rapidly try to evolve that particular product and make it the best version. So you have the idea and you build it, and then you code it and you measure. And by measure I mean we take it to customers and take some feedback, and then you get the data, and then you learn from it and ideas and again build. This might sound very generic, but trust me, not many does it. This lean startup is very tough to do because it's not that easy to actually code faster and measure faster and even learn faster. We often fail to learn things because if you are a founder, there is a cognitive bias that the idea and that insight that you have in your mind is very different from the customers. So you only keep on going with that particular idea in your mind, thinking that that might succeed one day without taking customers' feedback. But no, customer is everything, right? So that's why we take even whatever the feedback from the customer very faster and we try to improve with it. So up to now we talked a lot about it's about lean capital, lean manpower, lean code, lean feedback, whatever. That doesn't mean we have to do things in a very cheap way and deploy very bad products into the market, deploy half coded or half baked, or the product that actually no one likes. Never deploy those. By lean startup, it doesn't mean to actually push something into the customer and earn something. No, lean startup means try to build something as soon as possible, which the customer loves, and not just likes, the customer loves. Don't ship faulty products. Build a full-fledged feature and just ship it. It's okay. You don't need to build a complete social media application to just ship it. Just build a message feature and ship it. Okay. Now, how to plan our MVP based on the insights that we got from Lean Startup Model. So, as we talked, that the third principle of the Lean Startup Model is to build, measure, learn, and repeat. So now we'll take each step and discuss on how to build, how to measure, and how to learn. Right? Let's go. So build, again, build doesn't mean get crazy engineers from everywhere and put your whole day work day and night and just build a full-fledged product. As we talked before, build might just be a feature that or an insight that you have in your mind. Just translate that into the product, hoping that you have done enough pre-production work before that. By saying pre-production work, I mean validation, enough research that backs your idea, enough data that backs your idea. I hope you talk to enough customers even before. We'll definitely talk to customers later, but even talking to customers before is definitely very important. So hoping that you have done the whole pre-production work. The building phase, this particular building phase should not be take more than months. In lean startup model, the building phase has to be very rapid. And in fact, in Silicon Valley or high growth startup areas, we listen about these stories where people actually ship products in a span of days. They spend that particular night and they ship it the very next day, right? The lean startup philosophy is just that. Just try to build with whatever that you have in your mind, with whatever resources that you have in your hand, with whatever people that you're with, and just ship it into the market, and then measure. Okay, now that we have shipped the product, it's time to socialize. By measuring, just as you talked before, measuring is just going into the public and going to your users, going to your customers, and asking them right questions. Because if you ask them, did you like our product? Then any kind person will definitely say yes. No one has a bad heart to say no, right? So you have to ask the right questions to the customer on what feature that, if the feature actually is useful for them, is it that they want or is it that they need? Even the want and need, they're completely different approaches, and you have to be very careful when you're measuring your a particular progress of the building with the audience, right? After you have taken the feedback, even the measure, right? Right, time to check if the customer actually needs the product. After taking the feedback, we should remove all our cognitive biases and think accordingly that is the idea actually going to work? Because after getting feedback, I'm pretty sure the feedback might not always be a good, it might not always be a good feedback. Sometimes a customer might give a negative review. Sometimes the customer might say they don't really find it useful, right? Then you should have a strong heart to say that the idea is actually wrong and you need to do something to actually make it work. Or if not, pivot into something else that might work. This particular phrase, pivot into something else that might work. We'll talk about this later because this is very important thing in lean startup model. And learn. Based on the feedback, we have to make according changes to the particular product and again ship it again, right? Because after learning, again we have to translate the new updated idea, new updated insight into the our engineers, our team, and tell them that our previous idea or our previous insight was not working, and this is what we should do. Again, it takes a lot of heart and it takes a lot of commitment to again change the entire thing, change the entire update, and do it again the whole day and night. So you have to, after measuring, you have to learn from it and again start building, right? Again, this most important thing is through the phases, the product should always be in the market. The product should always be in the market. Because in the traditional models, the product is always in the lab and it goes into the market only when we sell. But in the lean startup model, the product is always in the market and we keep updating it. Just like the new age applications, right? The new age applications, they just don't take back their application, when they want to update it. We use our application and when the update comes, we actually update. That's the lean startup method. The startup should always be in the public and should always be in the product, and we build in the public. And that's how we actually make improvements. Okay, now that we are actually talked about what exactly lean startup is and how to plan out MVP through lean startup, let's talk about stories because we all love stories. Zappos. Zappos is a 1990s, a startup which actually was one of the first of its kind to build a website to sell shoes, right? So what exactly this particular man did was, he was a founder of, his name is Swimburn, and what exactly he did was, his idea was never to build a website to sell shoes, okay? So this is where the lean startup magic comes into the picture. This particular founder actually established that website and shipped it, and he actually put the shoes in that website. He got many reviews from customers saying they want to buy them. That's when he understood there is actually market for this particular product. Then with the particular data that he got, he started selling by naming it as Zappos. And now Zappos is a $1 billion company, right? Now you can ask me, why is this a lean startup? Because it is a lean startup because he started with a small website with no intentions of selling. Just with the data that he has got from the customers, he measured and he learned that customers actually want that. And that's when he started selling, right? And the second example is Slack. Today we all know Slack. Slack is one of the topmost websites or topmost applications or topmost products that we use in our professional careers and for the professional communications and whatsoever. And trust me when I say this, Slack was never meant to be a product. This particular founder actually built a game. His intentions were never to build Slack. He actually built a game with his team, right? But unfortunately, that game never worked out. That game never really made any revenue and it turned out to be a flop. But through the time of building this particular game, the particular team had an internal messaging app. They had an internal messaging tool for their own professional purposes. Some of the friends of the particular founder came and asked him. He was saying that this particular internal messaging tool was actually quite nice and they wanted to use it. And the same way, many other people had actually come and asked him to, let them use that particular internal messaging tool. That's when he got the idea that they could actually pivot and make something only for the professional purposes. That's when, ladies and gentlemen, Slack was born. Slack was never meant to be that particular product. They never had this particular idea. And how did Slack come into the picture? Only with the customer's feedback, only with the customer's data. All this was never intentional. And trust me, he had a strong heart to pivot from the beautifully built game towards building Slack. Had he stick to the particular game, he would have been a failure by now. But no, he learned that game was never working, and he immediately moved on to build this Slack. And today we all know where Slack is, right? So with this particular lean startup model, we understood that we have to stay very lean, very flexible through our mind, very open-minded, and we have to take customers' reviews, be it good, bad, ugly. Just take it and learn from it and measure from it and build it and be ready to pivot just like our Slack founder to become billionaires in your life, obviously. So how lean is your startup? I'm pretty sure most of you are building startups, right? We have like 30 participants here and I see almost like 15 to 20 people building startups here. How lean is your startup? Go to your room and just put pen on your paper and try to understand what mistakes are you doing? What insights have you taken from this particular session that you can change from tomorrow? And how lean are you going to build and how successful are you going to build? So ladies and gentlemen, today this is our session about lean startup model. I hope this was, this provided you some insights on this lean startup building and MVP planning by using this particular lean startup model. Today I said the word lean so many times that I really wish to become lean. Okay, that's all for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending. See you on the very next session. Goodbye.